opportunity to fight any champion, any weight class, you gotta give, for the hell of it, you gotta give the guy that's taking that chance to become a champion another notch up from where he is or where he might be on a 1 to 10 scale. Automatically, when a person, and I can relate to this, get a chance to fight for a championship, you gotta say that he's gonna be better than he was at any other fight in his career, because he understands, A, that he's fighting a person that he can't make a mistake, that he can't look at it as there's more opportunities out there, especially at this stage when there's so many fighters and less dates to be shown on TV. And so I'm looking for Karo to be even better than he ever was, as far as from the from the Cleverley flight on. So I'm anticipating that. At least one thing I'm doing, I'm telling myself that, because if I don't, then I'll go in there thinking that, okay, he's a number one contender, he's a guy that nobody really knows, but he becomes someone if he do something that never been done to Bernard Hopkins, or if he beats Bernard Hopkins, he becomes a major player in the game. Now, my job is not to introduce him in that way to American fans. And so, to me, I look at it like this: the defense attorney don't have the high burden. Who has the high burden in court in America? I can't speak about other courts in any other system in another country. Is that the DA who pressed the charges, is who comes to actually start the fight, has to prove the higher burden. So I look at that on the court side, and I look at that on the side of where I feel that no matter if anybody know this guy, because there's going to be questions between now and the New York City press conference in another week. There's going to be, who is this guy, this and that. I will not go for that. I'm not going to say trick, because that's a legitimate question. And I have to give a legitimate, common sense, experience answer to it. It's like, yo, wait a minute, that's because there's going to be people like, who's around? Listen, wait a minute. This guy here has a chance to be known through me. I don't want to be known on that positive light. I want to be known on, okay, another one bit the dust. He can't feel too bad about it, because he goes in a deep pool of line of even some of the greats of our era, of my era.
How do you get him to be known? I mean, how do you? 99% of the people that might watch or come have never heard of him or seen him. How do you get the public to understand that this is a legitimate contender, that he is a solid fighter, that he is my mandatory, that he's here for a reason?
I cannot give the public and the boxing world an invitation or cosign that this guy is good. My job is to make this guy be really the opposite and really do two things in one. My thing is that, A, verbally I'm telling everybody, this guy had to beat somebody and get to a position to be number one contender. Who he fought on his car, on his record, to show that he's capable. Okay, for Cleverley, it's word that me and Cleverley might fight, and it still might be out there. And a lot of his fights been in Europe and European, but in Europe states. But I'm caught in a situation where it's not bad for me at this age. It's just that this is an obligation that I agreed to fight under, based on fighting Cloud. The winner would fight the number one contender. We gave him step-aside money, $100,000, and Richard Schaefer, doing the brains of boxing, he negotiated a purse already set in stone. If I won the fight, this what the fight would be, without going to a purse bid or risking that. It happened for us. What can I do to show that this guy is capable and should be there? I'm saying that I don't want to do anything. From my perspective, the other side of money is saying, look, I don't want to do anything. That's what I'm saying. This fight, the burden is on me. I got the high proof in this thing. I'm the DA pressing the charges. And I look at it like, yo, exactly. He really don't have to do anything but come here. If I win and I don't win impressively, there might be fights out there, but I need to have this fight to be to the point where even in this position, I can call out anybody in the light heavyweight division or a super middleweight division or the guys that don't want to come up because I'm still there. There's a lot of guys that's really on Jenny Cray because they don't want to come up to my weight class. And so I understand that. Listen, I understand that there's a lot of guys underneath me that's waiting for B-Hop to leave, so that light heavyweight division will be back to the 80s. And anybody know about the 80s and the late 70s in light heavyweight division when you had Marvin Johnson and Saad Muhammad and you had all these guys, the Mike Rossmans of the world. A lot of these guys come out of Philadelphia and Jersey, the Jerry Bo Martins, and the light heavyweight division. If you look at the next two or the weight division underneath, because nobody comes from cruiserweight and go down, they go to heavyweight. So you look at from the middleweight, the super middleweight, and the light heavyweight division, those guys don't go down in weight, they come up in weight. And so I look at that being a crossroad in the next year or less, that the light heavyweight division will be, with the names and the talent underneath that, it's going to be something that I know is going to blossom, and I'm looking at it this year. So I have to make sure that even though nobody know this guy, good, I don't want you to know him. Only when it comes to promote this fight, and then when I take care of this mandatory, and I take care of this defense as a light heavyweight champion, one of the light heavyweight champions, then I would be able to say, let's unify if we can do it, or those super middleweights and two good bouts is coming up, at least one was canceled, and one is coming up, and I think y'all know who I'm talking about. It's right underneath my weight class. It's easy to eat 175 pounds, everybody know it. There's only a stopover from 68 to B75 within a blink of an eye. So there's the burden again. It's on Bernard Hopkins. So not only am I fighting Karo Murat, I'm fighting the next super fight that I didn't have since the De La Hoya fight. If my memory and my numbers is right, the last super fight that I've been involved in was my partner, Oscar De La Hoya. And if I might be off for some numbers, that was well over 6 years. So I'm craving for that, to be motivated more, to know that I got to not only look good in this fight, but I got to win this fight spectacular. And I know this fight is more in stake than even the Cloud fight. But I had to get through the Cloud fight to get here. Because y'all knew Cloud. Y'all knew Cloud. Y'all knew who Cloud was, and y'all knew what Cloud was capable of. And some say the Cloud fight was tailor-made. His style was tailor-made. Well, this guy has a straightforward style also. And he's coming from the fights that I've seen, which is few. He comes hands up, more like a winky right, and he comes forward. And so, and again, I keep building a case against me, but I'm not building a case against you. I'm just telling you, you might not know this guy, but in the same token, look what all the challenges that I have to actually overcome, even to fight him or anybody else that was known or not known in this particular fight here. Because when July 13th come, and if you do the math for the numbers, that makes me 48 and a half years old.
Who's counting?
48 and a half years old. I have to remind people of that because that's very close to 50. And if let me finish for a minute, because I know if I downplay the age factor with the success, then I'm doing myself a PR disservice. And I've learned how to say to myself, if I be nonchalant about something that's not done often in any sport, then I'm a damn fool. Because if it was happening in basketball, if it was happening in football, rugby, hockey, golf, then there will be an outpour of what a unique thing / what Lance Armstrong fooled y'all with. So I must be boldly but correct and accurate by saying that here's me, who ready to fight Karo Murat or Donald Duck, who's representing the highest level of representation of a world champion at 48 years old. I can't let nobody, not that Dan is doing this, but I can't nobody let them give me all the credit. No, and give me all the credit and say that Bernard, with you, who's counting? I'm counting. Because if I don't let it, listen, no, because I've been hearing, but because I can't let the industry or people out of the industry downplay it because the way I live, the way I am, and the way the stories get to be old to people because I've been around so long, where it's like, okay, yeah, we know Bernard East Coast, none of this. But if for my own personal reasons after boxing, if I'm planning on building the brand of Bernard Hopkins on the positive side and sending the message to the young kids and even the older kids or older people that you can do things without cheating. You can do things without taking a shortcut. Here's a fighter that fought our friend Gabe. Gabe from Philadelphia, who fought on the undercard of the Mayweather fight. And Rosado is a guy that I use in camp for championship fights that I had at least 7 times. He's considered my protege. And he trains with Danny Davis in the gym with the weights as we speak today. So when you see guys fight their heart out, and I know I might be jumping another horse, but I'm come back to what this real sit down is. And when you see guys that put their heart out and train hard and want to change things for their family and themselves, and then you see somebody else who in the same business that you into, that got to do something, right? Everybody knows what they taking. We're grown men. When somebody gives you something to say, take this, and you don't question it, you should take full responsibility. There's no grown man should be able to say that only reason that I had this in my system because somebody gave me something to eat. Well, if somebody can give you something, then you don't know what you're taking, then somebody can poison you. Somebody can kill you. Are you a fucking idiot? So when I hear this stuff, man, it makes me fucking mad because when you see a guy that's doing it the right way, and you see these people sitting around and they nonchalant it until it backfire and to the point where you show that you're looking like you're supposed to be 48 years old or 50. But when you do something the right way, this country got a problem really with right. What's promoted is always wrong and negatively. The guy that's doing right gets no coverage. But the guy that's scudduggery, subterfuge, and deceit, that's the news. That's what country we live in. I can't change it. I'm just bold enough to speak about it. So we all hypocrites, including me. Because if this sells more than this, then why are we talking about positivity when we really don't mean that? What we mean is what sells. And what sells is subterfuge and deceit. Look it up. So here I am, a year and a half from being 50 time July 13th come. And I'm still taking names and whooping ass. And you telling me that's not a story because I'm in this secret world of boxer, like the secret world in the world? If you do the finger signs and the Masons and all that. So we live in our own secret world when the bullshit comes, well, but let somebody else, Italian, do what I did. Let somebody else that was Jewish do what I did. Let somebody else was Catholic do what I did. Let someone else in any other sport, Bernard, did and do what Bernard Hopkins do. I couldn't walk the street unless I had 30 bodyguards. Why? Because the demand for him would be so strong. And the coverage behind and the gods that rule who believes in this product and believes in that product is by what people read and people see. The media has a big, big voice in everything that goes on in this world, including sports. Because most people will take the glass of polluted water or clear water and they would drink it just because someone of status says it's the right thing to drink. And I'm saying is this, when you have a situation where you have a guy or team that's doing something very unusual, you will see coverage that's justified. You'll see when the Miami Heat was almost ready to break a record. Why was that shoved down your throat in a good way every fucking day? Why was it important for the NBA to keep showing all the time that LeBron James and the Dream Team was ready to get 30 plus something win? Why wasn't they sport they thought that was so significant and so great? You know why? Because they got sense, not agendas. Only to promote what's ready to happen, and it's called history. Only in this sport. Only in this sport will you look like a freak because you're 48 years old and you're winning titles. Only in this sport, when you're doing something as long as anybody expect you to do it, is how long you're going to do it. When you're going to quit. When you're going to retire. Wait a minute. Don't you understand that y'all are witnessing something that y'all might not see in your damn lifetime again? But I sit back and I humble myself. And I say to myself, I say, okay, forgive those who don't know. That what gets me through. No, seriously, because maybe, you know, forgive those who don't understand, because if they think that this can happen, maybe it can, maybe it will, maybe it wouldn't. If they think that this is something in our lifetime, I'm saying my lifetime too now, that this is going to be something that we're going to be covering over and over again, so, you know, it's no big deal. We know somebody's going to get 20 defenses and stay in one weight class for 10 plus years. Oh, that's going to happen. We know somebody's going to fight till they're 48 years old. Maybe Florida's the closest one that can do that now, and he's undefeated. I think he's 35, 36, so maybe he even said he won't, but maybe he'll stay another 10. Don't you understand how many years you got to stay in the game to even break that record?
12 more. Yeah.
That's 12 more years. That's a long time, buddy, in this game of boxing. But nevertheless, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. But when I look at things like Dan and Bernard and everybody here, and this conversation has nothing to do with any pointing at anybody in boxing. This is now broad, right? This is broad. I'm going to use Lance Armstrong for a minute. And I've been using him a lot, even with the last fight. Because I'll piss in any bottle. I will give my stool if they need that, my spit. I will let them follow me around and see what I eat, which Comcast already did. They still show it every now and then on the archives. Matter of fact, they had something old on yesterday leading up to the Oscar De La Hoya fight. I watched it in the bed in the hotel yesterday. Lance Armstrong pulled the ultimate betrayal and the biggest con in sports history that I know of. I mean, he beat Pete Rose out and he was just gambling. There's a guy that we all know by admission who had the greatest empires of Nike and all the brands food, right? Right? Here's B-Hop, Bernard Hopkins, the executioner, with a story behind himself. No means I ain't perfect, but in this game of boxing, the way I live, I am super perfect. Super perfect when it comes to taking care of this body and taking care of myself. I wouldn't be here this long, y'all. You think I'm that good? I'm not that talented that way. Roy Jones was talented and 10 times more than me. Most of the fighters in my era, including the James Toney, them guys was more talented than me all around the board, and I'm not just being nonchalant about my talent. But something that I understood from day one, you keep your body clean, your mind clean, and you don't get caught up in this bullshit that goes on with success, you will be all right. And I live by them codes, man. And that's why it's hard for these young fighters to beat a Bernard Hopkins here and even the physical, because I took care of my temple. They on the floor after the fight tonight, most of them, at a club somewhere. I'm in a hot tub or in a bathtub, no matter how many rounds the fight went, in my suite. That's the difference between longevity of resting, taking care of your body. Because even though you knocked the guy out in the first round, what about the 9 weeks of trauma of training and sparring, hundreds of rounds? What about that rest? Oh, I didn't think of that, Bernard. I didn't think about the sparring part. I just thought about me fighting when I get in the ring. And as long as I'm okay, I'm okay. No, man, you went through 9 weeks of training with different guys banging on you. You go on 10 rounds and 8 rounds, and you're doing this at least 3 days a week. No, 3 days a week, normally people spar. I train my moms Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. What about that trauma year after year after year after year after year after year after year? Nobody never told them Because boxing now is 99% trainers and 1% or less teachers. We just lost a great teacher, Emmanuel Stewart. Then we lost to Angelo the Great Dundee. We got trainers that want to, and I'm going on another horse now. We got trainers that are trainers and they want to be bigger than the fighter. But nobody, Dan, has. We lost the teachers. And when you lose the teachers, you lose longevities of fighters who defend their title, who break records, who stay around long enough. Floyd Sr., teacher. Freddie Roach, teacher. He's a teacher. He come behind the teacher. The great Eddie Fudge, he's a teacher. This guy's they are teachers, no trainer. There's a lot of trainer gets in the ring and he train you to do what? There's no teachers that give you the IQ of the do's and don'ts. I was taught to hit and not get hit. Today's world, you gotta hit and get hit to be exciting, to sell pay-per-view, and to the butts in the seat. I can't fulfill the obligations to the networks. I can't do that because even if I become excited, I wouldn't be around that long if I had 1% of the great Arturo Gatti style. I wouldn't be sitting here talking clear to you and understanding what I'm saying without my brain scrambled if I took the page out of fighters who thought that they had to fight to be able to be popular the way others dictated to. I can't do that because when this short career is over, don't look at me as saying, oh, you can have a career for 2 decades or 3 decades. No, Bernard is an alien. Don't forget it. You can't use him for any example that goes on in this boxing. He is from Pluto, no aging process there. He's a fucking alien, and you gotta make no examples towards Hopkins. Anybody else, yes. But you got a 10-year window in this game if you're lucky, and that's it. Every reporter that's got knowledge in this game sitting at this damn table know that if you get 10 good years to make money and maybe to become champion 1 or 2 times, that is damn good. 10-year run. Anything surpasses that, consider yourself damn lucky. And you're talking and seeing a man here that lived by the code before I got here, that's right now by the math of 1988, Clinton Mitchell at the resorts in this casino, well, in this Atlantic City area, you looking at a man that's going on 3 decades of boxing. 1988, 2013. And I'm saying, Bernard and Dan and everybody here, is that I believe that I am chosen for this and have been chosen for this positions, even with the ups and the downs and my misfortunes and my self-inflicted wounds on my own self. But at the end, don't my history shown that Bernard, love him or hate him, is a damn fighter. He don't give up. He speaks his mind. I totally disagree with him. But you know what? If he believes that and that moves him, then God bless him. Do what you got to do.
Let me ask you something. Because you mentioned you're going to be 48 and a half. That's a great accomplishment. And if you do something at 49, it's a great accomplishment too. Let me throw out a nice round number. 50. And you mentioned the U word, unification. And Shumanov is out there, Cleverly is out there, boxers don't fight every day. If you were to have those fights, you're probably now looking at 49 something if you were to win those fights. You have to know that if you won those fights, you're 49 and a half and retired, it's not going to have the same historical impact if you won a fight or are still champion and retired at 5-0. You've said that you didn't think you were going to go that far, but by the same token, you got to be aware, someone is aware of history as you are, that if you do take it that far, that's like putting it in another stratosphere.
Absolutely. If I chose, and only right now at this time, that it's not too much of a long future distance I look in to accomplish anything in boxing, because of I got more in front of me than more, I got more in back of me than more in front of me as far as the time that I want to do this and the time that I should do it and can do it, respectfully do it. But that's one thing I do want to do is make sure that I fight the fight that people want to see. I want a super fight, Bernard. And I don't think that super fight is in right now in the division of the light heavyweight division with anybody that having the title right now. And I'm gonna just go mention names. And when I say old, I'm too experienced. I should use the word of saying if I mention people's names like this guy got on there from Crouch's camp manager or whatever. So I'm talking about, oh, glad Bernard think that know that Crouch is marketable and he's the man. See, I'm not playing those games. I went through that in my early game when you mention a guy's name, all of a sudden.
Did you mention Crouch?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. These guys you mention the guy's name, and it's like Michael Jordan say he would like to play one-on-one with such and such. All of a sudden this guy think, oh, I must be the man because Michael Jordan mentioned my name. It's silly. It's stupid. What I'm saying, if you think you're the best and you telling people you're the best, I want to pull the covers off you and show that you're not the best. And you're good. You will beat some of the guys that think they're the best too, but I'm telling you that we can do a big fight. That's a super fight. And that's all about names. To me, there's super fights, and right now, those super fights really don't have a title. They don't have the title of the light heavyweight division. The super fights for me is the guys that want to come up, but I'm just still there. Now, obviously, we know that Ward would be an interesting fight, but we are already mentioned and established where I feel about that, and Ward did the same. Far as Crouch, big fight. Why? Because even if I go to Europe, which I'd be glad to go. Or even if he come here. Matter of fact, he's been in Atlantic City, I believe, twice. So he didn't gain also fanfare from America. So Bernard, to be honest with you, to answer your question, right now there's no super fights other than me being the only piece of the light heavyweight division with another name going in the ring with me saying, you know what, that's a super fight. Because now we got two markets. We got the American market and we got the European market. If he beats Kitzler, I think that would be one of the super fights we can do no matter if we're on this pine or that pine. Another one I want to mention that will be another super fight. Any of those guys that's coming up, they call my name out after I beat Cloud. One of them trained by the same guy that trains Cloud, Triple G, Third G. They said, well, Bernard, he's a middleweight. Well, I went up from 160 and jumped 2 weight classes to go up to fight Tarver, and everybody thought that I was losing my mind. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, I was a 6, maybe 7-1 underdog in that fight.
I picked you.
So out of Dan Raphael, Bernard Fernandez, and maybe Frew, I think Tim Smith said he'll never go against me since I humiliated Pavlik here in Atlantic City.
No, Felix Trinidad.
Felix Trinidad in 2001.
Yeah,
you said that, okay.
That was it.
So you understood in 2001.
I've been riding
Tim said, I'm not taking that chance. Y'all can say what y'all want to say. Now he might agree or disagree with other things, but I remember him saying that, and that was 2001. I'm glad he corrected years. But right now, Dan, I'm telling you, I can go and say a couple more names. But I don't want these guys. See, when I say these names, these guys, all of a sudden, you give them a commercial. Listen, Richard said to me yesterday, he said, Bernard, man, it's going to be hard. People, they're calling, but it's going to be hard to negotiate if you start mentioning these guys' names. I said, I want to use the reporters who might like me or dislike me to say, well, Bernard called you out. What do you think about that? And see what their response be. What they going to say? Well, he's kind of old, ain't he? Well, they won't say that to Bernard. They damn sure won't say that to Tim. And I know damn sure they ain't going to say that to Dan Raphael, because Dan or anybody else was going to say, I'm hoping they would say, did you see his last fight? I mean, that's it. And again, they right, look, they don't work for me. Did you see Bernard last? So I take that away from them. So what I'm doing is doing a skillful thing that I did when I was promoting myself, even when I had promoters coming up. I had to be my own promoter. I did a lot of risky things, right? Well, I did the majority of things I did was crazy. But I had to do them to get their attention, y'all. I had to, and I'm not saying accept it or not. I'm just telling you, I had to be my own promoter and take my own risk to stir up controversy and conversation the best way I could. And it was in some. Most of it was in nasty taste, but I got their attention. That's all my thing. It's like a kid in school. If he felt he's getting no attention, there's a lot of things he would do that you would say, my God, he did that? Yes, I've been there before, been there, done that. So if these guys want to fight, then I want them to say to the fans and all that, stop lying. I don't want to fight the old man because the old man will embarrass me and I don't have an IQ to back up that I'm the champion like I'm frauding around, frauding around, telling people that I am. And that's all I'm doing. I'm using, now they might stop writing it when I say it now because I'm really letting the cat out the bag. I'm using the media through my own systematic way of saying, well, you heard Bernard called you out, Frouch. And his manager went right on there, well, we're not interested in Bernard, and, if Bernard want to fight, this and this.
Frouch was on a call a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And he actually was asked about you.
Yeah.
And said he would love to fight you.
Yeah.
And that he respected you as a great champion. He said all the nice things. The one thing he did
But his
say,
manager was saying something, was saying something different.
But the one thing he did say about it was, well, if he beats Kessler, he would love to fight you, be it here or in England, or
Doesn't matter. I went on record and
the
said
one thing
that.
he did say was it would have to be at a catch weight. He wouldn't come all the way to 175. Your thought about that?
Well, a catch weight is 72, catch weight is 71, whatever we come. First of all, I accept. But, I mean, let's get that. Okay. Hey, Dan. No, listen. First of all, look, Dan, 99.9, he gets it right. And I'm not patronizing, I'm telling giving it the truth. If he told Dan that, or somebody told Dan that.
It was everybody on a call. Everybody.
I'm in. Hey, I did it for Pavlik. Matter of fact, I went to that law, cut seven. I did it for Winky Wright.
Right, yep.
And that's to my knowledge, that's all I did. But I cut off 5 pounds off this lean body. So again, 48 years old, cutting down in between 75 and 72 or 71. If we can make this fight, either there or here, let's not forget that, then come on. Let's go where the money's at. Let's go where the crowd's going to be. They business people. Richard is a good numbers guy. I call him the numbers man, not the one in the neighborhood on the corner store. He's a number man. So Richard, make it happen. So I win July 13th, right? I'm fighting the dark horse. I know about those dark horses, right? I want to look good winning, so now that even anticipation is even more now. And good thing Frouch's been here twice. He's been here with Andre. Well, I was here at that fight.
More than that.
3 times then. I remember being there 2 fights. Frouch been here 1 time. I mean, in Atlantic City, I seen him
Twice.
Here in Atlantic City. So he's familiar with Atlantic City.
They fought in Connecticut also.
But I like to fight him in Brooklyn. You know why? They have a big following in Brooklyn on both sides.
Bernard, what if Kessler wins?
Well, my thing is, then he be the guy that I wanted to fight, so obviously he becomes interest. But I don't see Kessler winning.
Why not?
I think that Frouch become a better fighter, and Kessler haven't fought the quality opponents from the last time they fought up to now. And I think he's been sitting more than he's been in the ring. Frouch has been kind of active, and he's a champion now, and he got a lot of experience by fighting Andre Ward and fighting fights before then in that tournament.
Butte.
I didn't forget the Butte fight, who he, of course, see what he did to that, Butte. And I thought that was going to be a little tough. Matter of fact, I picked Butte to win that fight. So I'm gonna tell you, I'm a victim of getting wrong too. I'm not a victim. I'm accused, or at least wrong for saying that he was going to do certain things. Did from those fights, he surprised me, and he's no cream puff. He has an awkward style. The press conference would be off the hook because he has a personality, and it'd be something I don't have to do all the work. With these young guys, I gotta actually, like, who do you think want to promote this fight July 13th?
You are.
The man don't speak English. He's coming over here, and I'm not making fun of who can speak, but I mean, we know in boxing, it's best to know some English. Because to be branded as the guy, you gotta get crescent, like you go to church, you gotta get in the United States. You gotta get the blessings here, you know what I mean, oh Father, you gotta get that here to be able to go anywhere else. I don't care where you are. You gotta come here and get the blessings. That's why they come here to get introduced to the world.
25 years, man. You've been at it.
Is it 25 or 26?
It's 1988, your first
Yeah.
gun.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't good at math.
So, motivates you like that.
Discount the money. That's high. Appreciate it. Sorry.
Motivation. What motivates you to this? I mean, when are you gonna stop?
I don't know, but I know that. Put it this way, I know that I don't see 50 as someone I'll be going to the ring as a 50-year-old man because I mean, what's the purpose? I think right now I'm having more fun than proving that the era I live in, majority, not all the fighters, but majority of the fighters that's in can fight, but they haven't learned the sweet sciences of the art of the sport. And if I was held down and say, Bernard, give me a percentage of the fighters out of 100 that you think that lack getting that teaching from the teachers that's not in the game like they used to be, I'll say it's 40% out of 100 that's not getting the teaching to be able to beat a fighter, not only of my magnitude, but someone that has the teaching and can bring the body to the table. That's the physical and the knowledge too, also.
When you left the ring all those years ago after losing your pro debut to Clinton Mitchell
In Atlantic City.
in Atlantic City in 1988, could you even have envisioned that you'd be having this sort of media gathering as a world champion at 48?
No. I couldn't even imagine Bernard probably doing that at 38 until you start getting to those numbers. I mean, think about it. Like I would have been really looking like a total asshole if I've been sitting up there at 30 years old saying, you know what, Bernard, I'm going to be champion at 48. Who does that? Damn, man, Phil, guess what, man? I'm going to be champion at 50. Bernard, I couldn't. Because y'all thought I needed a head check, first of all. Like, wait a minute, you're talking about 48 years old, Bernard, you possibly be a champ or any other undisputed. It wasn't in my vision. It wasn't something I planned. It wasn't something that I knew I can do once I get there. Time goes with being busy, and you look up, Bernard, even though I pay attention to the clock, to a point where, okay, 1 year passes, another year passes, and I'm like, yo, I'm feeling better and I'm having more fun than when the serious business of boxing was more of a nasty taste in my mouth than now. And I don't know, maybe it has something to do with my comfortability of who I'm with, who I'm involved with, and that is, again, you know, Golden Boy and the situation that we 7 years now, 6 years now, we've been in existence, and I've been affiliated and been partners with. And so maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe now that I'm 40-something, it's a light on me and I'm getting some attention. And I mentioned this, I believe, to Dan, I know I said it to Bernard, about when I was coming up. The era I was coming up, I'm gonna name 2 fighters that got there. Now I might sound like a little spoiled kid here about, not spoiled, but a little kid has something to get back. You know, I felt like the third kid in the house. I feel like James Toney, who deserved to get what he got, and Roy Jones Jr., and then it was Bernard Hopkins. And I was the third child in the house. And we know if you're the third child in the house, normally you get looked at third, and you get the third, not the seconds, not the first plate or bite out of the apple. So I looked at it as being the third guy in the house at that era, the Roy Jones, the James Toney, and the Bernard Hopkins. Now I got the light because those guys have went their way and established who they are, greats in the business. And now that I'm around, there's really nobody competing or comparing anybody in the light heavyweight division like in the middleweight division. When I was in the middleweight division, you know, before the tournament, you know, you had the Roy, and he deserved to be there. You couldn't hit Roy with a handful of rice at the middleweight division. I was in the ring with him at his best in '93 at RFK Stadium. But as time went on and years go by, I see myself saying, man, now people are focusing on me. And again, I'm gonna look at me right now as a 40-year-old man speaking like I'm 19 or 20, but that's the way I feel. I feel now that because of things that change over the time, for good, for bad, for a lot of us fighters, right? Shift, it's like the guards have changed. You know, you was on head, you was on top, you ran the city, you the governor, you the mayor, you this, then it's changed and came. And the smoke didn't clear, and I'm still here. And I'm still here representing the highest prize in boxing, and that is one of the titles that considered respectfully world championship title. When you open the book up and somebody said this guy is 48 years old and he's a world champion, either boxing went downhill or this a bad motherfucker. Think about it. Either if a 48-year-old guy that's soon to be 49 time he fights is still fighting and got one of the respectful titles in boxing, either boxing have declined tremendously or we dealing with a bad motherfucker.
How you gonna know when it's time to go?
Huh?
How you gonna know when it's time to go?
When you get your ass kicked.
2011, when you broke the record,
Period.
when you broke George.
No. When a fighter gets old, it's not at the night of the fight. It's in the gym, but the trainers and the ones that know they